Everyone, welcome back to Triathlon channel. So we're going to look at the mistakes I made in the beginning when I first started triathlon, and hopefully this video will help you to not make the same mistakes and have a good experience if you're going into your first triathlon. Let's get into them. So back in 2018, when I first started triathlon, I had no real clue, to be honest. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know the importance of doing certain things and how they can affect the overall performance. So I would say one of my biggest mistakes that I made going into a full distance Ironman was I bought a new bike and I hadn't had a proper bike fit. I've done a whole video on bike fits and the importance of them, so you can have a look at that if you want a bit more information on that and why it was so important. But I think even going one step further than that, and a mistake that probably, looking back on now, was huge, to be honest, in the overall performance of the race, was I bought new shoes, and they only arrived on the day that I was traveling up to Bolton for the race to actually check my bike in. So I fitted the cleats at the transition, or where I was racking the bike. And that was first. So I had no clue, like I said in the very beginning. I literally just whacked some cleats on and that was it. So I had a bike that was not fitted to me, and I had brand new shoes and cleats that, again, they were not fitted correctly as well. One, because I had no idea what I was doing. So I would say that was detrimental to the overall performance, and that caused a lot of injuries in terms of my knees, my hips, and it all was out of line, which affected me not only on the bike, but it also affected me then going on to the run. So if you are getting new shoes or cleats, make sure you get them well in advance, at least have a practice run with them. But more important than that, if you can't, get them fitted properly by an expert. The second mistake I made, and it's very common, to be honest, and especially in new people getting into triathlon, is overtraining. So listen to your body. If you haven't got a coach and you're going at it alone, which is fine as well, that's what I did in the beginning, although I did buy a program. But I would say do not overtrain and listen to your body as much as possible. If a rest day isn't a bad thing and necessarily going to put you back. If anything, it will actually probably propel you a bit more forward, because your body's had time to absorb all the training you're doing, and you can go into this next session fresher and you'll get more out of it. But probably the biggest thing from overtraining is injury. Now, if you're injured, you can't race, you can't train, and that's it. It's something that I know all too well. And again, I would say that was the second biggest mistake I made. Third mistake, and I think this ties in quite nicely with the overtraining, is I approached every single training session as a race. So I used to race in training. And the trouble with that is not only does it affect your overall performance during training, it leads to a lot more injury. So when I say raced in training, there was every session I went into, it was as hard and as fast as I could possibly go in every session. And the trouble with that is, like overtraining, it also then leads to a lot more injury. So your body doesn't have time to absorb the training you're doing, but also to recover as well. So you're just going to get injured. So don't race. There's times when you push in a training session, and if you've got a coach, they will monitor that. But if you add it alone, then just bear in mind that not every session needs to be hard and as fast as you can go. And I think for me anyway, a big part of it, and I actually changed this a couple of years ago on Strava, I went private. And the main reason for that was because I thought every time I went for a session, I'd follow a load of other triathletes and I'd see their, either their runs or their cycles or even their swims were really good. The times were a lot quicker than mine. So I was pushing as hard as I could, because one, I was slightly embarrassed to be putting up, an 8 or 9 minute mile on there when I went for a run. And, looking back on it now, it was just silly. Just go to your own limits, but don't overdo it and stay injury free. Mistake number 4 was not practicing with the kit. So this can quite, tie into the first mistake I made with the cleats and the bike. And when I say practicing with the kit, so I'll give you an example. Just this Saturday past, so today's Monday and the video is going live, but the Saturday I did a long ride in preparation for my race in 2 weeks. Now I've just got a new bike and I got a hydration system that will go on to the bars. I added that on, and I went over the first bump when I went out for my practice ride on Saturday, and it popped out of the holding, or the case if you like. So that was then me having to stop, pull over, readjust it, fix it. So it was lost time. But to be honest, a mistake that I made years ago, and I've learned now, so you know what I would have done previous years was I probably would have just had only raced with it. So I wouldn't have actually taken it out on a training ride for me. So now that I know what was happened, but I also know how to fix it, come race day, I know how to install it properly. And that goes with all the other things, you know, making sure your helmet's, you know, the straps aren't too tight or too loose, etc. Just practice in your race kit, get comfortable with what you're using, and that's going to go into mistake number 5 that I did was nutrition. And I've done a video on nutrition, and to be honest, that was one of my earlier videos, so it's not great, and I'm going to update it. But the key message from it there is practice your nutrition, not only the brand of nutrition, but when and how much you need. So for me, I know on the bike, I need 80 grams of carbs every hour. And depending on the conditions, and again, something I learned only just a few weeks ago was I sort of stuck to the 80, but the conditions were it was cold, it was windy, and I really suffered when I got to the run off the bike, and my energy was it just was non-existent. So I really struggled. So I know now in windy and cold conditions, I need to up it. And those are things you only learn in practice, and you don't want to take that to race day. You know, you do not want to learn that you need more food or drink during a race, so that at the time you get to the run, you can run, you know, fully fit or recovered at least, and because it's too late. So practice that, but also, so something else that the main reason I was practicing this nutrition is I kind of contradicted myself slightly in that, you know, I've always raced and trained with science and sports. And then I remember back in 2019 when I did the London Marathon, when I went to the expo, I got some Morton energy gels and drink, and it was different. And I remember trying it, and it was the best thing I'd ever tried. And then I never went back to it I think mainly, to be honest, was down to cost. It's really expensive. So what I've been doing now is I've been training on science and sports. So for all my main training sessions, but then come race day, I'm going to be using the Morton stuff, mainly because it's the best nutrition in terms of not giving me stomach issues. Now it might work for you, but the key message is it's expensive. So not everyone will be able to train on it and race on it. You know, I certainly don't want to be spending sort of that amount of money during training. But so what I've been doing is trialing to see if I could train on the science and sports stuff, but then race. So all my nutrition, when I do my training prep, so this weekend when I did, you know, sort of a long session, I did it all on the Morton nutrition. And it was brilliant. I had no issues at all. If anything, I had a lot more energy. I felt better. Now that could be a placebo effect, but even if that is the case, it works. But the main thing for me was no stomach issues on it, where I really suffer with everything else. In all my runs, in fact, if I'm not injured, I've got stomach issues. So that is a big problem. So practice your nutrition as well as your race kit. So hopefully that's helped. Drop me below in the comments if there's anything that mistakes you've made. And the idea of it, if you're new to the channel, is it's all about helping each other, learning from experiences. Like I say, these are 5 of the many that I've made, and as time goes on, I'll share more of those with you, and I'm sure I'm going to make a lot more mistakes as we go. So if you've made mistakes and you've corrected them, let me know, so I don't make the same mistakes, or people that are reading the comments don't make the same mistakes. And that's what it's all about. I appreciate you watching. If you need to know anything, let me know in the comments or direct message me on Instagram. All the links are in the description, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.